We're going to look at how to use if-then statements today in Visual Basic with our dog to human years program. We'll use the basic calculation of 1 dog year is the equivalent of 7 human years. Quite a bit of the work is already set up here in the BTN calculate click event. Made a mistake there at the top. We're not learning about if then else yet. That will be in part 2. Part 1, we're simply learning how to use if-then statements, or generally we just call them if statements. Eventually we're going to make sure that the users type in positive numbers. If they type in negative numbers, nothing will happen. Only positive numbers or 0 will allow us to calculate the human equivalent age of a dog. Got some variables already. Dog years is doubled, DBL dog years, DBL human years is doubled. That will be the human equivalent. Made a mistake here earlier trying to get this set up. Should have called that CONST for constant, because that dog to human multiplier will never change. It's going to be 7.0 as a double. Notice the capitalization. We've got a try-catch all set prepared in case users type in non-numeric data. If that's what happens, we will go down to the catch and a message box will show up explaining that a mistake was made. Made some notations of what we're going to do in our if-then in a little bit, but again, we'll just check at the very first to make sure that this try-catch works in case we type in non-numeric data. So if instead of typing in a number, we type in the word bark and try to calculate, that goes into the catch part, and we're told you must enter numeric data. And we have a clever caption from the dog as well. You can notice in the top left, grrr. However, if there is numeric data, we want to calculate the human equivalent of the dog years. And we're only going to do that if the users give us a positive number or 0. So if dog years, DBL dog years, is greater than or equal to 0, we're okay to do our calculations. And that's what we're going to type. If DBL dog years, here's how we're going to do greater than or equal to. We type a greater than symbol, and then we're going to follow that immediately with an equal to symbol. And in fact, if DBL dog years is greater than or equal to 0, then we have a non-negative value. Hit enter right after that 0, and we got the then and the end if automatically. And if that is true, that's what that statement there is, that DBL dog years greater than or equal to 0. If that's true, then what happens inside this if block will execute. The only way we get inside this if block is if dog years is okay to use, and we've decided that it's okay to use if it's greater than or equal to 0. I'll take some of these notes that I made to myself and slide them inside the if. And it tells us what we're going to do now that we are guaranteed to have a non-negative value. We're going to calculate the human years, then display it in a label, and also get a comment from the dog. Well, to calculate the human equivalent of years, we're going to take DBL dog years and multiply it times our dog to human multiplier and assign that to the variable DBL human years. We'll want to display our answer, and we're going to put it into the label that was on the bottom left of the form. And we'll use toString and give ourselves 2 decimal places. On the right-hand side, we're going to get some kind of a clever comment from the dog. We'll just make sure it's something appropriate to our situation now, that we were able to successfully calculate the dog's age. Well, the dog's human equivalent age. So we'll just have the dog say, "Thank you for calculating my human equivalent age," or something like that. Once again, all that code executes only if DBL dog years is greater than or equal to 0. So we'll type in something, -8, and press calculate, nothing happens. However, if we try 4, we get an answer to 2 decimal places and a quote from the dog. We'll try 7.75, same thing. It is a little irritating or misleading that when we change data in the text box, you'll notice down at the bottom it still says 54.25, but there's no data in the text box. It would probably make sense for our answer data to disappear anytime the data in the text box is changed. It would only reappear when users press the calculate button. So we're going to go get a TextChanged event. That's the default when you double click on a text box on the design of our form. So we'll double click on a text box. And that takes us to the TextChanged event for TXT dog years. We want our 2 answers to go away. One is a numeric answer, the human equivalent years of the dog's years. And then we also had a little quotation from the dog. We're going to make that disappear as well. So we're going to take LBL human years.text, set it equal to string.empty, or you could use 2 sets of quotation marks with absolutely nothing in between. Similarly with the quote from the dog, we'll make that be string.empty. So now, when we change data in the text box, our answers will go away, and the only way answers will reappear is if we click on calculate. Try 4, get an answer, and then as soon as we take the 4 away with a backspace, notice that our answers have disappeared as well. Well, they will only reappear when calculate is activated. We did make calculate the accept button, so it was possible to just press enter. Another idea to consider here is that the most likely thing a user would want to do after finding the human equivalent for one dog is to find it for another. So instead of constantly asking our users to press the reset button, how about just putting the focus right back into the text box? We'll do that inside BTN calculates click event. So once we calculate, the focus will be assigned right back to the text box, ready for another dog. Again, we're looking for this to evaluate to true or false. It's a Boolean expression. The relational operators include the greater than and equal to symbol, but it returns a Boolean value, true or false. If true, then we execute the code inside that block. If false, it jumps right from that if part down to the end if, skipping everything in between. Notice that we press calculate, the focus is assigned right back to the text box, so it's ready for us to type in more data. Now you'll notice when we put in a negative number, nothing happens. And users may not know why. We've only got one path on our if. If something is true, we do something else, and that's it. It is possible to have something happen for a false answer as well, and that's going to be our next part 2, when we can have a yes path and a no path.